Hi, how are you? First of all, I want to say thank you very much to Marianne and to the Kumu for having me and for allowing the National Gallery to represent themselves here today. And also thank you to, I suppose, anybody who's involved in the project Museum as Toolbox, because we are very much trying to open up the National Gallery now as a more relevant space. And when large-scale projects like this with many participants are happening, it really gives relevance and clout to what we are trying to do in the education department. So yes, I'm going to speak to you about very tangible, practical things we have done in the National Gallery to do with youth art programming. And it was all based around the idea of see and hear and conversation and dialogue. And a quote that I really like, which I think even refers back to something Alexandra was saying about trying to program for youth, is that if liminality means being in between, also youth in general could be considered a liminal condition, no longer a child, but not yet an adult. And this is from the Learning in Museums and Young People Working Group study. And it is difficult to program for someone, an entity that is constantly evolving. How I was when I was 20 is completely different to now at 35. And when you are changing so much, how can a museum provide something for you when you don't know yourself sometimes what you want next? So I am here on behalf of the National Gallery of Ireland, but also the Gallery is a partner with NEMO, which to many of you probably know, it's the network of European museum organisations, and they represent the museum community of the member states of the Council of Europe, speaking for over 30,000 museums across Europe. And NEMO has 4 strategic areas: collection value, education value, social value, and economic value. Now, more specifically, the National Gallery of Ireland is involved in the working group, the Learning Museum, the LEM working group. And the Learning Museum is funded by the Lifelong Learning Programme Gunfig Networks, and it has 23 partners from 17 European countries, plus the USA. And in 2013, there was 88 members from 25 countries. So the Learning Museum research and also provide working groups. They organise mobility and study visits. They have international conferences, and there is a regular website and newsletter also. So all the reports that they produce and compile are available online on the NEMO website. But the most recent one was a study into young people in museums, which was published in May 2015. And this is completely available to download with some really interesting insights. The overall structure of the report explored museums' role in the digital era with references to the challenges and new possibilities presented by new technologies. It investigated the museum's role to face social exclusion, focusing on young people in a not in education, employment or training status. And it looked at accessibility and disadvantage, referring to young people with additional needs. And this also makes reference to some of the Europe 2020 strategy's priorities, targets and flagship initiatives. When the report was being compiled, we were also looking at our education programme in the National Gallery of Ireland, and we needed to do an open, frank review to see where, I suppose, there were gaps in terms of the audience we programmed for. So within children and families, we had some strong workshops, we had great attendance. There wasn't really a problem in encouraging families or children to come to the gallery. For teachers, schools and tours, it's the same case, because the National Gallery of Ireland offers free tours to any school child or anybody from an additional needs situation. We have a big uptake from schools, and also some of the works in the collection feature in the national curriculum. So having children come in as part of a school group was not a problem, or teachers. Our adult programme is well subscribed to, between workshops, bespoke events, lectures in our lecture theatre, and our community engagement and access programme also. These are all programmes that we are continuing to build on, but these are well established. But there was a very obvious gap in our education programme, and that was youth. We didn't have the youth audience that we wish to have. And again, we're really looking approximately 15 to 25. So we decided to do an open review of our youth-related programmes to see where we already have access and engagement with youth, and how we could build on that in terms of opening it up to bring them outside of school or parental visits. So within tours and schools, we had access to youth. With our outreach programme, which goes out to schools, we also could meet with them. From third-level institutions and young fine arts students, from our internship programme, which brings in young adults on a year-long and rolling internship basis at the gallery, and online in terms of the programme we have. So from looking at our overall programme to see what we had for youth, we decided we could really, the best thing to do would be open up the conversation and engage in dialogue with those who already came to the gallery to see how we could interact better with youth in general. We decided to put together a youth audience development strategy, and these are just some of the points that was firmly rooted in dialogue. We wanted to start a conversation with these established youth audiences and use the feedback to expand existing programmes to make engaging with the collection more relevant and tie it into the current curriculum. We wanted to reach out to youth organisations and ask what can we do and what do you need, rather than simply programme based on the premise that we would know already what they would need. We want to provide opportunity for young art students to work with the collection and respond and hopefully showcase their work. And based on all the dialogue and the conversations that took place, we wish to programme new opportunities for individuals based on these cumulative conversations and use the findings to properly and, I suppose, coherently develop a new education strategy. So our first youth audience we decided to speak to was from mainstream schools. And the first project we set up that we decided to open up the conversation was with our transition year work experience programme. In Ireland, there is a year between exam years, which is fourth year or transition year. And like youth itself, it's a liminal year. It's neither exam nor anything else. It gives you opportunity to explore other subjects you might not have done before, and it also gives you opportunity to work experience and have a year where it's more about learning for learning's sake as opposed to fulfilling exams and ticking boxes. So the National Gallery decided to run a transition year work experience placement programme where for 1 week students from all around Ireland could come in. They were based in the education department, but they could also avail of conservation, curatorial, shop, events, etc. The work experience programme ran from September until May, which is in keeping with the school year in Ireland. And we had a very diverse range of applicants. There was a huge number of youth that wanted to come to the gallery, and we facilitated as many as we possibly could. But overall, they get a very well-rounded experience of what it is like to be in a national cultural institution. But for us, obviously, in addition to having these fantastic young people work with us and give us ideas and insight, it also meant we had a core group to speak to. These students are here on their own, independent of their parents, independent of their teachers, and they have the opportunity to speak freely about what they would like and also discuss openly how they would like the museum to be. And from the 1 week they have come, we continued on the relationship with them so that we could build on what they really wanted. For example, obviously the National Gallery, we are very fortunate to get a range of speakers there. One being Roddy Doyle, who wrote The Commitments. I don't know if any of you know the book or the film. And one of our students had really expressed an interest in writing. She wants to continue on to write. So when there was an opportunity for her to meet this man and sit and have a conversation with him, we facilitated that. We've had some of the transition years can work with us in the gallery on our main information desk, and also it puts forward a youth persona on the desk as well, so that it's hopefully more opening when youth come in. And also we are working with students on a continuous basis. Something that came out of the transition year programme was that the young people, I suppose, in Ireland tend to engage more on Instagram than some of the other apps. This is a student, Kenya Dempsey, who when she came to us, she said, this is only a year and a half ago. I have a real interest in art, but I don't know what area I want to go into. She attended some of our workshops. She said she liked doing makeup and she liked theatrical. She just liked it. She now has 46.2 thousand followers on Instagram, and she has built up this incredible profile where she does these really extreme kind of makeup situations. She also obviously is very savvy, and she tags the people, the products that she uses, and then they send them to her, and she's just skyrocketing. We are currently putting together a project which we hope she'll want to participate in for the reopening of our historic wings with the gallery, where we're looking at her interpreting some of the classical works on her face in some of these makeup trends that she does. So not only do the TY students feed into us, but also we are learning from them all the time. One of the second groups that we decided to work with were digital schools. In Ireland, almost over 40% of second level schools are now digital, in that we do not have books. They're working from tablets or iPads. And with the gallery, it would be remiss of us not to start programming for that type of student. So we decided to run a pilot scheme which encouraged junior cycle students to engage with and explore the collection using ICT and new media software. We wanted to combine research and development strategies with presentation skills and digital art making techniques, and we aimed it at younger students. The hope being that if they would come in very young and engage with the gallery in a positive way, that they could take this forward then. And also, as our curriculum is changing in Ireland and becoming more ICT focused, we thought best to work with the young ones first. So, just to flag some of the points, the students were to learn about appropriating imagery, origins and evolution in art history, discover artists who's used digital tools to make work and assess their work, investigate our works from the National Collection online, so using what we have online to access before visiting the gallery, produce information on research using relevant software, develop and refine their skills utilising digital art making tools, visit the National Gallery, engage with the collection, look and respond to work, produce new digital artworks and demonstrate their skills. So this project was carried out in 3 stages. The first was research and development, which happened in school. The second was engaging and responding, which happened in the gallery, both on-site and online. And the third was presenting and reflecting their findings in school and online. And this allowed us also to establish better digital collections or online collections with the connections with the schools we were working with. So this project itself was quite timely in that it was connected to current syllabus and new curriculum strands which reflect the need for the digital in Irish schools. It allowed for the digital interest which had been identified by the youth panel from the transition year group to be explored in a structured manner. It established the online sharing of projects with youth, which we had not done before, and it established a positive youth digital presence in the gallery because with some of the works in the gallery when they're in copyright, or also in general, some of them are not to be photographed, there is a big aversion even from our attendants, the people who are keeping the place safe, from people having large iPads or screens in the gallery. And this promoted a more positive side to that people became used to seeing students in the gallery with their iPads, both photographing and working on them. And it really presented an opportunity for digital engagement to happen outside of formal education. So as these students were working on a structured project, other youth were also encouraged to work in a digital way in the gallery, and it just opened it up. It allowed for review in a fantastic way. One of the amazing things the students showed me, which I did not know before, was they could track the digital works as they were doing them. So they could literally show me step by step how they had evolved and created, and they put those available online as well, so that the public can see how something was produced. And overall, it was a really positive digital experience. So from that conversation, we decided that we needed to look more also at youth organisations and additional needs associations. A group we worked with additionally was Bridge 21, which is an education programme based in Trinity College in Dublin. It's aimed at supporting at-risk youth. So these are youth that are at risk of leaving school early, and for whatever reasons, a wide number of reasons, but the chances are that they would leave school before they have their exams completed or before they have any kind of plan in place. It offers a new model of learning that can be adapted for use in Irish secondary schools, and it's designed to support an innovative 21st century learning environment. So the project we put together here was basically rooted in the idea of it not being just another field trip. And we rooted this in 5 styles of language, and word meets image at an exhibition we were having in the gallery at the time. It presented opportunity for youth from various education structures. So these were not all from one class. They were youth from various areas in Ireland to come together and engage meaningfully with Irish culture, art, literature, history, heritage, while also developing key skills from English and literacy to technology and teamwork. The youth worked in teams to respond to artwork and building and using technology to investigate, produce and present their ideas. So rather than things being quite flat, they could write, but they could also do digital storytelling, make radio commercials, stream online debates and make infographics in response to their visit. They focused on the 5 styles of language which we cover in the English curriculum in the English syllabus in Ireland, which are aesthetic, argumentative, persuasive, narrative and informative. Their topics connected to real issues for both youth and the National Gallery that were informed by recent reports such as Why Have Museums Forgotten Teens, which was published in The Guardian in 2015, and also the National Museum considers closure to deal with funding crisis, which was a real issue in Ireland in late 2014 and early 2015. This project gave great insight as to how we could connect better with youth, as the dialogue was opened with non-art students. These students had not necessarily chosen art as a subject in school. Many of them weren't attending mainstream school any longer. They were kind of dipping in and out. So it was a great broadening of the audience we were dealing with. It allowed us to consider the relevance of the museum to other audiences. It allowed us to think about new teaching, learning strategies and methods we could develop and utilise, and a real insight as to why youth of NEET status do not go to cultural institutions. It also helped to bridge the gap between technology and tradition, and it allowed for genuine engagement and honest conversation, because again, this happened in the absence of teachers in schools. Additionally, for youth with additional needs, we decided to work with the Latchon, which is a literacy and technology hands-on literacy programme for older youth and adults with intellectual disability in Ireland. It was initiated and developed in the School of Education in Queensland, Australia, but in Ireland it is run by Down Syndrome Ireland, and Ireland was the first country in Europe to be allowed to franchise this. So we worked with Latchon, with one particular group. We connected with new youth audience, off-site initially and then on-site. It began an informal conversation leading to discussion on art, museums and culture. Visit to the gallery included guided tour, drawing workshops and lunch, so also that it was very holistic in terms of how we were engaging with people. And the follow-up visit to the centre allowed for further discussion of a gallery visit, what was good, what could be better, and what the group wanted from further workshops with us. It allowed for a firm connection to be made with this audience. Branches all over Ireland, so the same scheme can be made available nationally throughout the country. Experience and engagement were absolutely key here, and tradition and technology tools. And one of the main things that the group indicated was that they just wanted access, that they wanted to be able to come, that they wanted to be asked back, and that they would love for people to come out and visit them. Our third youth audience, which we had very easy access to, were our gallery interns and young art students. The National Gallery of Ireland runs a long-standing internship programme in the education department. We have one-year positions and we have internships that occur on a rolling basis. So from our interns and just general open discussion that would happen in the office or on site in the gallery, they indicated they would like more opportunity to contribute to education programming. They would really like to become more involved in curatorial and facilitation, and connecting more with other cultural and higher education institutions was something they felt was key. Our young art students that would come from some of the higher education institutions around Dublin and the country indicated they would really like more opportunity to draw physically in the gallery space, which is something that obviously always happened in galleries but had petered off in recent times. And I think to bring it back to using the gallery as a resource, as a toolbox where you can really learn even practical skills like drawing from looking at works of art. We've lost focus on that in our gallery, definitely. So we wanted to return emphasis to that, and the students emphasised this. They wanted to consider connecting the collection to more contemporary practice, and to look at speakers and talks reflecting both practice and history and theory, because again, we have a lot of speakers that deal with theoretical or historical side of art, but less that are practitioners. And after all, the work we have on the wall was made by somebody. It wasn't just somebody thinking about it, it was somebody making it. They also would like some space to display or exhibit, and they really expressed a need to see an artist at work. So, from these conversation outcomes, and this was entirely done in dialogue with myself, other members of the education team and the wider gallery, some core points came out. One was that Instagram is a great way of communicating with our particular audience in Ireland. That Saturday was a key day for youth, that it was a day they would consider coming to the gallery, that Sunday they saw as being more for families. They would like to see more digital media allowed in the gallery and less frowned upon. More drawing workshops in the gallery, again, in the exhibition rooms. They would like to see art by young people exhibited or displayed, that we should be doing a lot more online, that art connecting to other subjects or learning through art or alternative ways of learning was something we needed to address. Wider range of speakers that would cater for more broader needs in the gallery, seeing an artist at work, working more with other media such as illustration and film were two key areas that came up. More sociable programming happening in the gallery also, youth contribution in some format, and access. So from this conversation, a number of actions, projects and programming took place where we went from seeing to hearing to actually doing. The first thing we looked at was a youth exhibition. This was a collaboration between the National Gallery of Ireland, the Education Department, and first-year visual arts practice students from the Institute of Art, Design and Technology in Dunleary. So they're in their very first year of fine art. You're talking, there would be some older students, but generally maybe 17, 18 years of age would be the usual. These students come to the gallery and they draw directly from the masterpieces in the permanent collection. They then go away and they work to reinterpret these things, reinterpret the works that they've seen, especially focusing on light and image, and take the collection into a new area altogether. They had been doing it for a couple of years, but never before had their work been showcased, and this was a real missed opportunity for us. So we decided to showcase it and show the breadth of what they had done. So in our education space, among the finished pieces, we also had the student sketchbooks. As I was mentioning to someone earlier, a lot of the time, if you worked in art lecturing or as a student yourself, the finished piece may be fantastic, but the sketchbook is where you really see the person and the ideas. And we wanted the audience for the gallery, the general public visiting, to see where these ideas had come from. Also, we worked with digital screens to show not just the digital work that was produced, the digital artwork, but on another screen also sketchbooks that we couldn't fit, so that there was a real breadth of it. The works they produced were in response to, like I said, masterpieces from the collection. So while the works themselves were very diverse in terms of interpretation, to include small placards which reference the original artwork and the room that it was in the gallery, so that when the public came to view, they could see this young interpretation response to a very old masterpiece, for example, but then go back and revisit that masterpiece and maybe look at it with fresh eyes. And this continued on throughout the exhibition, so that again, even you could make the link so that the public could see where the student had got the ideas from in the first place, where the light hit a face, for example, and some maquettes were developed that literally used lamps and shape. We also had 2 kinetic sculptures, which were again connected to very flat old artworks, and this was something very new for a more traditional art museum like the National Gallery to have. Both of these were moving, working sculptures that played upon colour and light from 2 key works in the collection. And we had a major opening, I suppose, for this as well, which brought a whole new audience into the gallery. It was catered for in a more, I suppose, youthful way, and we asked the participants what they would like to have for their opening, and bringing their family, their friends, their younger siblings. It really opened up the gallery, and we opened the gallery late that evening so that they could explore the rest of the rooms as well. We also decided to programme specific youth art workshops and a portfolio course, as this was something that we were asked for also. Within this, we decided to look at what students were really looking for. So, for example, the man in the far right of this picture is Declan Shalvey, who is a very well-known Irish illustrator. He has drawn Batman for Marvel Comics and also Superman. So he is an icon to some of the youth who come into the gallery. So by working with him, and he was thrilled to work with young artists, we got a whole new audience as well. And he also spoke about how he would come to the gallery when he was a student and draw from the works, and that the drama and the light that's seen in chiaroscuro or in something like Caravaggio is something he has transferred to his Batman illustrations. And this really allowed the youth to see the collection in a new way. We also worked with more contemporary style workshops, which was something that the students had indicated they wanted, but marrying that with traditional work, both on-site and off-site, and allowing for particular workshops to happen as well when the students had expressed, for example, an interest in illustration or, for example, textiles. We allowed the students to work in groups and individually with these workshops, and also with the portfolio course we provided them with a lot of information on current courses in Ireland, things like deadlines, what the particular colleges are very well known for, who are the key people you need to speak to in that college if you want some information prior to joining, because these are things that if you're in the middle of your exam years in Ireland, which the students are, you're embedded in exams, you're also trying to prepare a portfolio so that you can hopefully go to art college. These are things that are just layering extra information on top of you that can be forgotten. So we wanted to make that manageable for them. Also, because there was such a strong I suppose, express need to see an artist at work, we began an inaugural Art Educator in Residence programme. So this gave opportunity for some really well-established Irish artists to work in a workshop basis with children, but also teens and adults. So we opened it up and also showcased their own work. We opened up National Drawing Day, which happens every year anyway, but we decided to allow youth to draw from still life, which were informed by works in the collection, and also to have artists working in different ways, so digitally and in traditional media, so that the youth could see them. We also worked with Slingshot, so these are new academies that are happening in Ireland, which mentor students. These are not based in the arts, they're generally based in STEM. But by having this, allowing it to be facilitated in the National Gallery of Ireland in an auditorium like this, we brought in 250 students for each workshop that were not of an art background. But because they came through the gallery, it gave them access to the collections, and also it allowed us to engage with students that would not usually come. This particular academy is in encouraging students to make the right choices when going to college, and we really wanted to be a part of that. We started to tailor our seminar and research days so that they would facilitate those who were interested in both art practitioners and historians. And we started to work more with other cultural institutions, such as the Irish Film Institute, on their youth programme and education programme. And our online and digital content is something that we are continuously addressing. So for example, instead of just putting up information on the Renaissance, we worked with a recent animation graduate to make a short film which would make it more accessible for youth, and we were trying to make our content more available online. We are doing all of that and trying to keep, I suppose, core theory in mind all the time. So the idea that our outreach and audience development is happening at the moment in a new era for museums, that of questioning assumptions, of experimenting, of building up partnerships, and of being challenged by encounters with different publics, new audiences, new citizens, and of trying to make a positive difference to their lives. In Ireland, the education and curriculum is very informed by recent events within our economy and within our financial situation. And this is referenced in our Arts and Education Charter, which was written in 2012, which says that the nature of the Irish economy and the paradigm shift which it experienced in recent years underscores the need for economic and social policies that are underpinned by an educational system that fosters and nourishes creativity. And when we are trying to do something new in the gallery, and when we were trying to reaffirm the impact that creativity can have, we refer to this quite regularly when we are speaking to the government or when we are speaking to departments about trying to source funding, etc. And also that we are trying to be, as much as possible, inclusive and work in a collaboratory fashion. In that one of the most positive aspects of the arts is that they offer a wide range of entry points, which in turn make this domain more accessible for individuals with diverse needs and abilities. Through participation in art activities, students can be engaged on a number of levels, which can include the cognitive, sensory, physical, and emotional aspects of the individual. And the goal of inclusion is not uniformity. True inclusion means offering each individual the opportunity to learn in a style and environment that maximises his or her ability to fully develop as a human being. And that holistic ethos is something that we're trying to do now as we move forward to conversations informing wider education strategies. The conversation and the dialogue that informed our youth strategy is now being used to inform our overall education strategy. And we're opening up what we do not just with the education department, but working with the broader gallery, to our visitor services, to development, library and archives, exhibition collections, conservation, even corporate services, the shop, and of course the wider gallery and public. But also, we're looking at having an open invitation to groups that we work with and we want to work with, so other academic institutions, cultural centres, organisations and groups, specialist practitioners and government bodies. For those of you who may have been in Dublin in the last couple of years or who have tried to visit the National Gallery, you may know that our historic wings have been closed for a number of years now, as we've had a vast refurbishment programme. This is due for completion in early spring next year in 2017. And this reopening really gives us opportunity to think about our gallery as a toolbox, our museum as a toolbox, which can become more socially relevant space. This is because obviously we are trying to build on the public interest that it is building all the time, waiting for the gallery to reopen. The architecture has been beautifully preserved and will be open to the public again for the first time in many years, but also some elements of the building will only be seen, would not have been seen in this way since early 1900s. The collection, the majority of the collection will be on show again, where a lot of it has been in storage in recent times. We will have some really strong temporary exhibitions happening where we have Vermeer, Caravaggio, and extending on from that, there's so many works that we'll be able to I suppose, exploit to our needs in education. We will have a lot more space, and anybody who works in an art museum obviously knows that this can be tricky when you're trying to programme for diverse audiences. Our facilities are better, there's better access. Our online is getting an overhaul in terms of we will be looking at a new website and looking at apps and making the gallery work better for an online audience. And all of this presents a significant opportunity to redefine our museum as a more socially relevant space and a toolbox, so that we can bring people and art together both on-site, off-site and online. Thank you.